Well, then the fall comes around and the override of President Clinton's veto is up in September of 1996. And the author of the bill decides he doesn't want to do this anymore because he's up for re-election. He doesn't want to be talking about abortion 6 weeks before his election. And so no one else wanted to manage the bill. So here I stood. And I thought, well, maybe that's what okay, I'll try. And so I went out there and laid it all on the line. Took on battle all of the other forces. And there aren't a lot of people who want to talk about these issues. So you're out there pretty much alone. One or two other folks would help, but you're out there pretty much alone. I'll never forget things that happened during that debate in 1996 where I was debating Barbara Boxer. And she was talking about how there were women outside the chamber who had had partial birth abortions. And they were crying as they were confronting senators coming in to try to convince them to vote against this bill. And she and others had likened this procedure because we had described it in detail how this procedure worked, like I did with you. And she said, well, if you describe any medical procedure like an appendectomy, it would sound bad. Well, I got up and said, the senator from California is talking about the women crying. I said, you would be deafened by the cries of the babies who are not here to cry because of this procedure. And then I pointed at the chart and I said, some have likened this procedure to an appendectomy. And I pointed to the drawing of the little fetus, the little baby, and I said, this is not an appendix. It's a baby. It's a baby. And at that very moment, the cry of a baby was heard in the United States Senate. For like 3 or 4 seconds, and it stopped suddenly. You hear the cries of the baby who are not here to cry. It turned out to be someone outside of the gallery, outside of the Senate chamber, because babies are not allowed in the Senate chamber. You have to be 7 years of age to be in the Senate. I'd never heard a baby cry in all the years I'd been in the Senate. But at that very moment, a door opened and there happened to be a baby outside of the hallway crying. And that cry came into the Senate chamber. That to me was a great blessing to think, wow, maybe I'm doing the right thing. Maybe this is one of the reasons I was called to be here, to stand up for those innocents who are being terrorized by the scourge of abortion in this country. Remember during the debate, they were talking about how